Do you have an SPCC plan at your facility? Did you know that SPCC regulations require that plan is reviewed at least once every 5 years? Well, if you're wondering what that really means, whether it's a simple renewal, an update, or an entirely new plan, you're not alone. In this quick video, we're going to explain what the 5-year review really is, what you're expected to do, and how to make sure that your plan doesn't cause you any trouble down the line. Hey there, this is Dennis Ruhlin with Resource Management Associates, your environmental experts. Let's get to the basics. An SPCC plan stands for Spill Prevention, Control, and Countermeasure, and it's an SOP-style document that's for facilities with over 1,320 gallons of oil storage above ground. And if you have one of these SPCC plans, one of the core requirements is that it's reviewed at least once every 5 years. Now here's the part that trips people up. A 5-year review is not the same as renewing a permit, and your plan never expires. What you're doing is reviewing the plan to make sure that it still makes sense, matches your site condition, and is current with regulations and expectations for a modern business. The good news, a 5-year review for an SPCC plan can be done entirely in-house. There is nothing within the regulations that require you to hire a third party, such as a consultant or a professional engineer, to conduct that review. So, provided that you are familiar with the SPCC regulations, your operations, the site, and the plan itself, you yourself are more than qualified to conduct your 5-year review. But what does that really mean? What does one look for during a 5-year review of an SPCC plan? Well, to start off, you confirm that everything is accurate. You confirm that the site map looks like your facility. The contact details are the same. The company name is still the same. You want to make sure that secondary containment is reflective of what's currently on site. You want to make sure that your tanks are the same. You want to make sure that your plan accurately reflects your facility. Additionally, you're going to be looking at your inspection forms, your training material, and record keeping to make sure that it's been kept up to speed and everything's done in accordance with the regulations. You want to make sure that you're crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's, and keeping your plan in compliance as necessary. But what if something's changed? Well, that's relatively simple. If anything simple has changed, like contact details, or maybe the street that you're on has changed names because of some sort of township or county change, those things can be relatively easy modified as administrative changes within your SPCC plan. Now, conversely, if you do something a little more complex, maybe you change your facility layout, you add a new tank, or something's just changed that really throws your SPCC plan out of date, you may need a third party to come in and give you a little hand putting that documentation together. Plus, if your plan was originally PE certified and the changes are technical in nature, like a new tank or revised containment details, then a PE will be very likely required to recertify that plan. Now, why is there so much discussion around 5-year reviews for an SPCC plan? What causes so much headache? Well, two things. First off, there's a lot of confusion around the SPCC 5-year update. A lot of people think that it has to be scheduled 5 years from the date of the plan publishing, and that's simply not true. The regulations state that the plan has to be comprehensively reviewed and updated at least once every 5 years. You could do it every 3 years. If you did it this year, you might not need to do it for another 5 years down the road. It all depends on how you're using, maintaining, and adapting your SPCC plan to reflect your facility at its current state. Now, here's another problem that we see all the time when it comes to SPCC plans in a 5-year review, and it's simply the time span itself. People forget they let 5, 10, 15 years go by without properly updating and maintaining their SPCC plan. Sure, they're doing the training and they're completing their inspections, but they're letting the little details fall through the crack, and after a couple years' time, that plan is really not reflective of site conditions anymore. Simply put, if it's out of date, it's out of compliance. This is a very common pain point that we hear for folks who do get in trouble with SPCC regulations. They have old, outdated information, the plan no longer reflects current site conditions, the contact details aren't accurate, you name it. When a regulator shows up, and if it's after a spill and your plan's out of date, you can expect problems. So what's the right move when it comes to updating or comprehensively reviewing your SPCC plan every 5 years? Well, the first one's very easy, and that's just to schedule it ahead of time. Put a note on your calendar 5 years from now, put a task on your task tracking app, whatever you do to keep track of your responsibilities, make sure that you note that your SPCC plan has to be reviewed a couple years down the road. And our advice, don't wait till the last minute. Give yourself 6 or 8 or 12 months wiggle room to make sure that you have enough time to review the documentation and, if necessary, engage with a third party to bring them in and update your SPCC plan. And remember, if nothing has changed, then all you have to do is review your documentation, confirm that the SPCC plan is still accurate and reflective of your operation, sign off on a review form, and move on. That's a relatively easy, quick task that you can do in maybe an hour or two at most. Now, conversely, if things have changed, then you are going to need to update your SPCC plan. For some, that means some simple administrative changes. For others, that means maybe hiring an outside party, such as a consultant or professional engineer, to revamp your documentation, provide some updated figures, or in some cases, even completely redo your SPCC plan. It all depends on what's happening at your facility. Now, here at RMA, we help companies do both. Sometimes that means we go out, we do a quick review of a facility, we inspect their documentation, inspect the operations, and we confirm that their SPCC plan still matches what's happening on site. Other times, we'll go out, we'll do a 5-year review and find out the documentation is in no way reflective of the facility whatsoever, in which case it's often easier just to scrap it and start all over again with a new, accurate SPCC plan that's correct right out of the gate. So if your SPCC plan is creeping up on that 5-year mark or it's been sitting untouched for a decade, now is the time to act. The good news is that SPCC issues are always fixable, and since this isn't a permit, it's not an application, and you don't have to submit anything, it's relatively quick and easy to find someone and correct those deficiencies within your SPCC plan. And if that's the case, we're here to help. If you need a review, if you need an update, or if you just need a brand new SPCC plan at your facility, reach out, let's talk. You can reach out to us online, you can give us a call, or you can schedule time with us directly on our website. If you've got questions, we're here to help. Thanks again for watching. I'm Dennis Ruhlin with Resource Management Associates, your environmental experts, and we'll talk to you next time.